Food insecurity remains a major issue amid the pandemic, particularly in marginalized communities. Last year, community activist Zakaya Tafari got an alarming message from a father in need.
When everybody started to panic shopping and stocking up with stuff last year, he didn't have any money to do that. He called me, asked me if I could provide any support. At that time, I couldn't. And then later on that day, he messaged me saying, he's really concerned. He's thinking about going out to shoplift. And that really hit me hard.
That moment became a catalyst for launching Black Food Toronto, an initiative from the nonprofit organization African Food Basket, which provides healthy, culturally sensitive food boxes to African, Caribbean, and Black households in need. Tafari says the program helps fill a massive gap within the community that occurred when a majority of food programs shut down due to COVID.
Typically, a lot of low-income families, their children go to breakfast programs, seniors go to a plethora of programs throughout the day where they'll get lunch, they'll get dinner. Sometimes it's the main meal that these families have. And what we noticed was that over 80% of the organizations that used to do this in some way, they all had to shut down their operations.
It's an oversight many advocates say is missing from the conversation when it comes to food insecurity amid the pandemic. Hundreds of organizations that indirectly provided meals are gone. And while traditional food banks have received some funding to help those in need, programs like Black Food Toronto and others that do similar work but don't fit the food bank model can't access the same funds, even though demand for their programs continues to skyrocket.
Once I believe it was the second lockdown that happened in November, that weekend, when that was announced, we saw an uprise of over 3,000 families applying for support. And since then, it's been a constant uprise of folks applying. Our wait list right now is about 2,000 households.
Janelle Renier-Davies is a former program manager at Second Harvest who is now studying the impacts of COVID-19 on community food organizations in Toronto. She says while the work of organizations like African Food Basket are positive, the burden shouldn't fall on them to fill the gap. She says part of the reason this is happening is because of provincial cuts to public health before the pandemic.
In the city, since the crisis started, and before the crisis actually, we saw a complete removal of food systems work. So really at the city level, there isn't a lot of experienced professionals working in food insecurity. And we see nonprofits taking the lead, which is really problematic is because a lot of these organizations are already struggling financially.
She hopes to complete her research with information to share by the end of the year. In the meantime, Tafari says he hopes the city will provide more space to ramp up operations for Black Food Toronto. To learn more about the program, head to blackfoodtoronto.com. For City News, I'm Erica Natividad.